Yes, 101.1 FM, AM 1160. Our conversation with Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hey, just got through another big holiday weekend. And when the holiday actually comes on a Monday, that's an automatic 3-day weekend. Some people turn it into a 4-day weekend. That can sometimes get out of hand. How did we do?
Well, we did well, I think, and it's only a weekend for non-police officers because we're here. We're here every day. So we have some officers at the police department who certainly were working the weekend as they were all over the county. But 4th of July, what great weather, wonderful turnout it seemed at Mack Park and all the surrounding locations. And generally, my report is positive. I mean, I haven't read every report from the weekend, but most that I've read indicated an active weekend around town, but yet subdued as far as negative events. And that's really all that we can hope for, is to give each other opportunities to succeed. And I think that we did that with our partners this weekend.
Maybe not a typical summer weekend because it was the holiday, but pretty close.
Yeah, it was very nice. I mean, there was quite a bit of activity yesterday later in the day, traffic in and out of town and things like that. But for the most part, all weekend long was a typical summer weekend, which in Indiana is a nice opportunity to get out and about.
We had some negative news nationwide yesterday, of course, the shooting in Chicago, and police responding. I was very impressed to see how quickly and efficiently the Chicago police were able to respond to that. But those must be nightmare scenarios that you have to continually prepare for. The odds are you'll never see an incident such as that in your lifetime of policing, but odds don't really mean a whole lot when somebody shows up with bad intentions.
They don't. It takes one person. It really does. But, police departments all across America are no different than the police departments here in Indiana County and Indiana Borough, and that, we train, we plan, we prepare, we overanalyze, we look for the suspicious activity, we try to gain as much knowledge as possible about things that could potentially happen. So, I think that peace is something that's built. Safety is something that's built, and it's fragile, and it's fragile daily. And so I try not to dwell on the negative things that are occurring, not only nationally but locally, but they are out there. Sure. There are true dangers in the world, and there is a true effort by high character men and women to subvert the threats so that everyone can enjoy the time that they're supposed to be enjoying together without violence. But we're not there. We're not there as a society, and but as a community in Indiana, we have pulled together. Law enforcement is always communicating with each other. We're expanding our efforts just so, the product that you see, the ability to walk downtown, to visit our wonderful stores, the fact that, we have nice things here is a testament to the fact that we have an environment that people feel comfortable in and that they want to come to. And I'm not suggesting that that's not the case in Chicago, but I am saying that it requires planning, to your point. And it's a constant effort, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, on holidays and not holidays. And so, I wish and I pray that I could guarantee that I could keep everyone from strife or danger. The reality is that we can all do our best efforts, and that it takes one person to really shatter a relationship or a community. And those are the things that we're trying to avoid by positive relationships, by proactive police work, by, answering calls for suspicious activity, by building partnerships with our communities. So all the things that have always been important are no less important today. As a matter of fact, they're more important. So
the off-duty police officer who was killed over the weekend in Pittsburgh graduated from the police academy at IUP only in May, had been only on the job for eight days. And it was a road rage incident. He had passed legally. The driver who was accused of shooting him to death, who then followed him home. Let's talk a little bit about road rage and how people should respond to it, and why it is such a firecracker, for want of a better term. It is something that can grab a hold of you, and once it does, it's hard to let it go.
Yeah. So, true tragedy in Pittsburgh. And I don't profess to know the exact details of that encounter, so I don't want to speak to that specifically.
Sure.
But I will say that generally speaking, stress levels are high. They've always been high, but they're at a higher point. It feels different sometimes out and about. And with road rage, it's a matter of, we're not giving each other time and space to maneuver. We're not giving each other the patience that perhaps we should. We're taking things more personally, perhaps, that we should. And so on the road, as we're motoring, I just ask everyone in our community to give yourselves time. Take a few extra minutes. Many of the things that we see, many of the unsafe driving habits that we see on the road are not intentional. But there are some intentional acts. So, we're not immune to our incidents of road rage or threats made of motorists here in the Indiana community. And I'm sure it's that way in Indiana County and all over. So as far as tips for the public, I would offer this, and this is certainly a bit off the cuff. And in no way, shape, or form am I suggesting that these things would have mitigated that situation in Pittsburgh, because I simply don't know. But give ourselves time to get from point A to point B. And we have to give each other the benefit of the doubt sometimes that the actions of others aren't necessarily intentional affronts to us. So if you're a motorist that happens to feel like you've been cut off, or that someone pulled in too quickly or pulled out recklessly, just ask that you give patience, because I'm sure there were times when perhaps you made a maneuver in a car that could otherwise have created a negative situation, and by the grace of God, it didn't. And so, but more specifically, if you're encountering someone who you feel perhaps may be intent on creating you harm, public places are some of the safest places that we have. So I would suggest that if you do have to stop, as opposed to driving perhaps somewhere secluded or pulling over on the side of the road to confront a motorist, that we not confront somebody else. We get to a public place that has other folks around, and certainly get inside those places. Police departments and police barracks are safe places that generally have parking lots open and available. So get there. And, other than that, I think that avoiding, perhaps if we can, the confrontation, and it's not going to be possible all the time. And I don't know that it was possible or could have been possible in any recent situation, but these are best advices that I would give my family members. And so I feel confident in giving them to all of your listeners, because it's the best advice that I would have in the moment.
Yeah. And if somebody has started to follow you and you feel that it is a threatening situation, probably going home is the last place you want to go, because you're taking him into the realm of your own family. So as you say, the best place to go is somewhere where you're going to find a police officer.
I think the best place to go is somewhere where you can find a police officer or a public place. I'm not suggesting that home isn't a safe environment, but I do think that for the general public, to pick up the phone or use your cell phone and call 911, let us know what you're experiencing, where you're experiencing it at. It's very possible that there might be a police officer in uniform in a marked police car somewhere nearby that could get to you quickly. Certainly that would be the case in Indiana Borough, and I know that would be the case in White Township too, and for the most part in all of Indiana County. So again, we just want everyone to not only exercise patience and caution, but when something negative does happen, please use us as your first resource, and hopefully we can navigate some of these more dangerous moments in a positive way. But again, that's no indication of what happened in Pittsburgh. I don't have enough information to speak intelligently or with authority on that. But to know that our environment is generally less stable today, and we're fighting very hard to make it more stable, and we're succeeding in large part, but there's also a lot of work to do, and there's always going to be a lot of work to do. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about crowd control at events. That is also a hot button issue. Whether it was yesterday, there was a protest march, and I don't know that the crowds are a factor in anything that did or did not happen there. But when you have things like festivals downtown and people gather, when you have, there was Mack Park yesterday. At the end of that, crowds begin to empty out. With a limited number of police officers and a very large crowd of a lot of people, and frankly, in the fall and in the springtime, we get that as well with some parties. It's a really, really difficult proposition, and you have to be on your toes, but it can get out of hand quickly.
So it's a true challenge. All gatherings are true challenges, and this is for every gathering that would occur, whether it be here or elsewhere. And they require diligent planning and partnered resources There's really no special event or event that can occur, a large gathering that doesn't occur with an extensive amount of research, prior planning, coordination with partners, public safety, police, fire, EMS, emergency management systems, 911 communications. You know, it's truly a coordinated effort, and it's a coordinated effort in advance so that we can all be prepared, not only to assure that there's a safe gathering, but to have contingencies in place so that if someone were to consider causing harm at a gathering in Indiana, that it would be immediately subverted. And that's what we do. And my tenure with the police department before being chief was generally in special services, special events, special event planning. So I can speak with a good bit of authority on how complicated some of them can be. We host some large events in Indiana Borough, and we have to put things in place, people in positions, police officers at certain locations. We have to coordinate with fire and EMS. We have to know that if someone's having a medical emergency across town during a large gathering, might not even be in the gathering, but how are we going to get an emergency service vehicle through the gathering safely?
Sure.
How are we going to stop perhaps a young person from running out to try and get candy, when there's traffic or large horses coming down the street in a parade or a truck pulling a large float? And then on top of that, how do we plan and prepare for perhaps an argument that might break out, or perhaps a legitimate need of someone that's trying to take advantage of a situation where perhaps they feel that resources are overextended? And without getting into specifics, these are all the things that we prepare for. We have always prepared for them. The environment that you see is one that's generally coordinated and coordinated well. And although we'll never share that with the public specifically as to how we coordinate, we are coordinating. And I would encourage everyone to be confident that when you come to Indiana for an event, that you're coming to a place where there's a lot of planning that went in. And so it's not an enviable task. And
No.
It all really comes down to the people. We have great people. We have high character people. We have first responders who care tremendously about the town and about the people that they serve and about their partners. And when you have that, you have a far better opportunities to succeed. And one of the things that I do continue to commend Indiana Borough Council on is that they do provide the police department with resources that we ask for. Sometimes it's not without conversation, but we are generally well equipped and appreciative of what we have to make the community safe.
Yeah, and you made the point about getting emergency vehicles through. We recall it was a few years ago. There was a large gathering and a fire broke out, and they couldn't get the fire trucks through to the fire scene because of all the crowds, and there were people on the streets and everything. But that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yep, it is. And some things you can plan for, and some things you can't, and some things you have to kind of. Some things are happening so rapidly that there's not always a great plan in place. But we fall back on plans that we've had before, and we come together as a community and as first responders, and we figure out how to best achieve what needs to be achieved in the moment. That's a good effort.
Yeah. Borough is getting underway with its summer paving program. Anything people need to know about getting their vehicles off the street other than do that?
I don't have specific information about paving, but Borough Manager Nicole Cepas is doing a wonderful job, as is the Public Works Director, Paul Gellis. And so whatever guidance that folks see perhaps on online or social media sites for the borough that's put out by others than the police, I would say generally, just give yourself extra time. This is what we need to do in Indiana Borough. Give yourself extra time. Be patient with each other. Understand that there's a high volume of pedestrian traffic out and about, and that we are going to have some special events. So roads are going to be closed. It is going to be frustrating, I'm certain. The route that you may prefer may not be available to you in the moment that you want to travel that route, but there are many other routes through Indiana Borough. There are many other streets that aren't obstructed. The traffic flows quite freely, and so we just want to give ourselves time to get through. The first route may not be available, but it's not the only route through town.
He's Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.